All right. Well, let's call the meeting to order, and hopefully Dan will join us. If not, then we'll have to pass on the park grant information. So we have minutes to review and approve. I did not do the minutes for the 10th of November, so we'll have to pass over those. And I will get them definitely for next meeting. We do have the January 12th meeting minutes.
Yeah, I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
Okay.
Janet, are you writing the minutes for this one?
I am.
Oh, good.
I offered to at the last meeting when Paul.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was you or Dan. I just knew it wasn't me.
I was waiting for Mark to ask before.
Yes.
I'm teasing.
Before
I
you
remember
volunteered.
you volunteering, Janet.
Yes, I did. I did volunteer because I only did minutes once this week so far. So
So our Eversource bills, we have a $30 bill, which was paid on January 27th. Another $30 bill, which will be paid on was paid on tomorrow, actually, February 10th. And then we have another bill, which I think might be for Kona Park. They've changed their format. So you used to say LaBrie Field or Kona Park. And that bill is $22.72.
is it? And that's from Eversource as well.
That's yes, they're all Eversource. And that's going to be paid on the next billing cycle, which is the 24th, I think it is.
All of them, or just?
No,
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah.
The other ones were already paid.
So the first $30 was paid on January 27th.
Okay. See the date. Yep. And the
The
other one.
second one is on tomorrow, which is the 10th.
Yep.
And the other one's going to be on the 24th
Okay.
for the 22.72.
I'll ask a lot of questions when I take minutes, so
No, that's fine.
I don't want to miss stuff.
No, that's fine.
And I'm
A
a
lot of
little upset that Sonia didn't say that I came in and had a lot of fire in my belly. I'm definitely not running now.
I think you had purpose in your belly.
The next is really going to be a continuation of the signs. We will continue that until spring comes, and hopefully we can get them into our possession, I would think, in March, so that maybe Randall and the highway department can put them up in April before everyone starts using the parks. You didn't hear back from Dan, did you, Janet?
I haven't seen that. If he's running the other meeting, I don't think I'll hear back from him.
Right.
I just said, can you let Mark know you're not attending?
Yeah, right.
But,
Let me yeah, right. I'll open my email again and see if he sent something. So it's really the continuation of the park grant. And honestly, without Dan here and Paula, who were both on the committee, I don't know what has transpired. So if we do hear from Dan before we're done, we could come back to that. Pass over for now. Pickleball is again springtime, so let's hope that the weather continues here and they can get things painted and done in the end of March, probably, Bill, right? Gets warm enough.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be up to the contractor and their scheduling and everything else, but it's a little bit premature to be bugging them right now.
Yeah, above
Correct.
50 degrees and dry for 3 days, correct? Is that
Right.
what I remember? So,
Right. So the
You
Angels
better be warmer than that, too. So whatever.
yeah.
overnight. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to wait until it's, you have consistent temperatures night and day.
And that might be the beginning of April. Who knows?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
50 degrees was not just daytime. I didn't mean for it to be daytime only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The angel statue is another ongoing project that we have. And then on the Kona Park and Labrie Field use applications, excuse me, we had talked about looking at this and finalizing it for our March meeting when we start to get some applications in. So we'll.
So what is it that you think needs to be revised on it? Just the price, the age group, the users, town-wise? I mean, if we're trying to nail this down for March.
Right.
Is
So unfortunately, I don't have that folder with me, but we made some revisions to the language in it, Sunya, when we had the issue in the fall with multiple people trying to use it and not getting along.
Yeah.
So we don't have any changes in the age groups.
Right.
We had made changes in the payment structure last year. So I believe it's just that language in there that I just want to finalize, and I will send out a draft copy before our next meeting so that you can read it.
Okay.
So.
But not much.
No, it's not.
Yeah, there's, okay, good.
Yep.
And so can I ask the question that everyone will ask is like, for the users fees, what exactly does it go towards?
So our user fees are for us to make improvements to the park for different projects.
So it doesn't have to do with the water?
That could be. It can be used for the water.
Okay.
Us to be able to pay bills and correct.
And are we asking any of the users at this point? We're not charging Easthampton football. Is that a true statement?
Correct.
So are we asking any of the users to participate in any of the costs as on top of the user fees these upcoming years?
Well, I guess that's a very good question as far as whether the water department will allow us to hook up the sprinkler system. If the water department doesn't allow us to hook up the sprinkler system, then there's no sense in having that discussion with them. Or we come to a compromise where we can hook up the sprinkler system and use it on a limited basis and try to come up with a maximum ceiling for a water bill, like we had talked about. Back when Steve Capshaw said, "Send me the bill."
Can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
Because somebody asked me and I didn't have an answer, so maybe you guys can shed some light. People refer to that area as pretty wet. So the question was, why do we need a sprinkler system if it's so wet over there already? And
Right.
I didn't have an answer.
So there are times of the year that it is wet, but the sprinkler system really needs to be used in July and August, maybe sometimes in June.
So just like our splash pad, if there's a water restriction, therefore we can't use them in July and August, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And part of the irrigation water system at Labrie is on the playing fields, and they don't have a tendency to be, well, the soccer one does not have a tendency to be wet at all. So that was part of it. I guess where I'm heading is what I hear from the different, SYAA is like part of it is they want to know these answers to a degree so then they can set their user fees, and so if they're going to get hit with whether it's a seating maintenance type of monies on top of the user fees, then they'll just roll it into their user fees. They don't really have an issue with that as long as they know ahead of time. Just sort of like what we could do. We could raise our user fees and say, now we have maintenance for the fields. But they're just saying that that what I'm understanding or hearing is that they don't feel like we've given them good answers on that, and then have asked for more after they've set their user fees.
And maybe we should plan that we're going to need to use it in July and August and roll that forward then. I mean, does that make sense?
Well, I think that we should give, that we should give them a number saying that, and again, it's checking with the water department that possibly there could be an additional $2,500 between soccer and baseball or whatever it might be, and then let them plan accordingly. Whether they work that in their budget or whether it doesn't come to, I don't know if we would take it for a rainy day, and not use it, or.
We should expect to use it. And if we don't, then there will be the day that we'll need to use it. Right. And.
Right.
Yeah. I think you got to plan for the worst case scenario.
And 6,000, was that just for 2 months, 6,000?
Well, that was for the season. That was for a longer period of time. That was putting it on in May, the end of May. So June, July, August, and into September. Kind of when the fields were being used.
And is there water sensors attached to that? So if it's already had so much, like.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, there's a rain sensor on the backstop.
Yeah.
I believe it's on the backstop.
Yep.
That's good.
Yes, there is.
It didn't help that year. Right. With the cost.
Right. Correct.
So can we get
that was kind of a unique year because it was when it was first getting tested and operated, and so I know that we went through a lot more water than what you.
There was overseeding, Mark.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a lot of seeding.
Ton of overseeding.
Yeah, right. Trying to get everything to grow.
Okay, so it was before the fields were actually used, and it was still being seeded. Yeah,
and that's why we were able to pay that bill out of the CP money.
Wasn't it a year after it was used, Mark, and it was all and the fields were brutalized, and so we had to come in and refurbish them, double aerate them, deep tine aeration, and everything else, along with installing the system. Wasn't there a year in there where the fields were used and they were just totally brutalized?
I think it was about the same time, Bill.
Okay.
And the irrigation system.
All right.
So,
yeah, it was something happened with the use, and it was really used a lot, and it really tore up the turf and everything else. So.
One of the
I don't know whether it was the year before or it was just kind of the same season, but.
One of the big reasons was we had pretty much a drought, and we had no rain, and everything was still trying to get established. The new seed was trying to get established, and we had absolutely no rain.
Yeah.
And so we were fighting two things.
Can we get an estimate from the water department, like you said, and then move that forward?
Yes. What I was just thinking that I will try to set up a meeting with the water department to discuss this and see what their vision is of us being able to use the irrigation system this summer for irrigation, and have a conversation about the splash pad. Because that's two big things that we need to do. And I can let people know when that meeting would be, and if anyone else wanted to attend, as long as we don't have a quorum, I think that's where we need to start. the whole thing. I also need to get with Ed to find out what we actually have in our accounts. I've asked him multiple times, and I don't know what we have in our accounts. So I couldn't tell you how much we could use or couldn't use. So we need to pursue that. So I'd be glad to reach out to the water department and see if we can get on their agenda at their next meeting. I know I missed the first one. I'll try to.
I don't think there's anyone on SYAA anymore that is as generous as Steve Capshaw.
Correct.
So I don't think that we're going to see those offers coming our way as much anymore.
Oh, yes. I didn't expect Steve to do that every year.
Yeah. No. I'm just saying that they're expecting us to give them answers.
Correct. All right. So I will do that and see what we can come up with. If we put a cap on it, and let's say, we come up with a figure of $3,000 for a water bill. And if we hit that threshold, then we shut off the irrigation system and we request, that be paid by the users.
Is it a gift fund that you need from Ed, or what's it called?
We have the Labrie Field account, and I don't know what it was called, that we deposit the money in.
Can I share something? Can I share something real quick? And
Sure. Yes.
So is this it or no?
Okay, so that may be it.
Because this was a report that was sent to our COA director. She always forwards it to me. So I was just skimming through it. There's
Okay.
park renovations, Labrie Field. So.
Okay.
But I don't know if there's anything else.
Let me just see.
Who gets that bottom number, that 17,000? Whose is that?
Yeah, right.
I don't know. There's nobody associated with it.
Right. It's
Kind
total.
of a block item number, blacked out.
Okay, so let me just look at the numbers. Okay, 16. All right, so those numbers are not correct, Janet.
Okay.
I deposited the $1,181 on 12/15. Prior to that, I had deposited in that same account.
Okay. So it's not accumulative then.
Yeah, $1,690.
Okay.
Before that, so it's not accumulative.
Yeah. And maybe they know that.
It's only a snapshot for whatever
For that month or something. Okay.
that is. So,
Well, I tried.
yeah, no, thank you. But I know, and sometimes when in past years we've gotten a summary sent out by the accountant office,
Yeah.
and then we could say, okay, this is what we have in our accounts. So I'll try to get together with Ed again and send him another email and updated what the values of our accounts are. Because, that didn't show the pavilion account.
Not in that page anyway, so it may be on a
Right.
page.
Separate one, right? They're kind of mixed up.
Because that's not a gift fund, that's when they pay. I'm also on the ad hoc cost efficiency committee, and they're looking for ways to increase revenue. So if this group has any suggestions, just email me and I'll move them forward, you know?
Okay.
I don't know that we could increase anything that's going to increase the town's revenue from a parks perspective, you know? Because
Right.
Kona Park, when the park gets rented, that comes to parks, right? That doesn't go to
Correct.
general fund. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That goes into a Kona Park Pavilion account.
Yep.
So that's separate. So I believe that we should have maybe 3 or 4 accounts that the accountant's office is set up for depositing monies.
Okay.
I think we have a separate one for gifts that somebody, if somebody gives us a gift that we've put in. Where was it? Okay, so I guess the Labrie Field House continuation of the discussion with Bill. He's here tonight. I think this kind of ties into the whole park grant.
Yes.
And, trying to work that out, Bill.
Right.
Honestly, I think at this point in time, if we can blend the 2 projects together, I think we really need to try to downsize that pavilion for the time being to 2 bathrooms and a mechanical room, and then with the eye on expanding it in the future because of the cost.
And it would
Well,
have a shower in one of them, or a shower available?
Well, yeah.
That wasn't even in the original plans.
Right.
The thing is, I guess facilitating the plumbing for the splash pad may have an impact on mechanicals, Mark, in this building.
Right.
And so, I'm a little reluctant to go ahead and kind of reconstitute a proposal without knowing exactly what we're doing for the scope, because I may have to get Robert Hall involved.
Agreed.
In some of this stuff. I can't do it. The architects can't do it, Mark.
No,
so it might have to be a little bit of a multidiscipline effort. And then we've got to know, there's still some question about the drain.
Correct.
I don't know. So I'm, I'll just hang in there.
No, I think you need to hang back on that, Bill, until we figure that out. I did speak to someone that is very familiar with the Easthampton splash pad. Used to work at the park, in charge of all that stuff.
Was that George?
Yeah.
Okay. You bumped into him? Nice. How's he doing?
We got together Saturday night with other friends. So the 6 of us got together, Mark Gannon. So I asked him, I said, "Hey, George, how do you discharge the water out of the splash pad?"
Oh boy.
And it's nowhere near what is required under the regulations. And the other thing he said that, a long time ago, they had discussions in town about this whole issue of the water department or user groups within the city of Easthampton paying for water usage. And they do not pay for any water. And I said, well, that kind of makes sense to me, George. We're all under the same umbrella. And so it's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So.
All right. But I guess, I can go back to the architects anytime I want. And, we can kind of work out a new proposal and everything else. I actually would like to work with a park commission a little bit on I can kind of do that in-house on a repurposed, floor plan that I can then pass along to the architects and say, hey, here we are, we're trying to streamline the budget for this. And oh, by the way, We've got a splash pad that's integral to the mechanicals now of the field house, and we're going to have to get Robert Hall in the mix on this and everything else. So until that, I just don't want the architects guessing all over the place. Well, where do you want to go?
Sure.
So at some point, we'll have to pick that up.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have, Dan's not here or Paula's not here to give us any updates on the master plan, open space rec committee. Our last item is the new playground equipment at Kona Park. So I would like to try to set up a meeting with you, Bill. If the weather keeps going on, we could maybe do it in a couple of weeks to go down to Kona Park and take a look at the playground equipment. And I'll try to, maybe get Randall to come too, so that we can discuss the existing equipment and potential new equipment there to get a proposal to CPA.
So Mark, at the last meeting, if I look at Paul's minutes too,
Yep.
It says that we need more discussion on that. I didn't know that we were ready to move forward this quickly, because we talked about having a master plan for Kona Park and,
Right.
securing unsafe ones for now. But I guess I wasn't understanding that the whole commission had decided to move forward, but.
No, you're right. You're exactly right. I just want to get a better handle on it, Janet, to see what is, what needs to be removed.
Right, okay.
And, what potentially we could talk about doing.
I also think that the playground was sort of starting to get a little bit of leg and momentum, and then it got hijacked by the grant.
Right.
Because it started off as we were really looking into doing a new playground set. And then it was like, oh, well, maybe we can get a grant for it. And then it was like, oh, we're not handicapped accessible for, to be. So it was sort of heading down in the works. And then it did get hijacked by this whole grant. And now,
it just got derailed a little bit.
Yeah. But so I think we were further along than what it probably feels like, as far as thinking that we needed it and looking at it. If I remember.
Do we need a master plan though for what we're doing? Because it is, people are getting concerned, I think, because we're doing patchwork.
Well, I know that discussions were made about potential cost of preparing a master plan, which were in my mind, a very high number, that we don't have anywhere near that kind of money to even do a master plan. To come up with it. And I honestly forget the numbers that Dan was putting out last meeting.
It may be around 30K, I think, if I remember correctly. There's also an option to request money from capital or stabilization to do something if it's the right thing to do.
Right.
But that's up to the whole commission. That's not up to, that would need a vote, and if I might be voted down.
Yep.
Or voted off.
Mark, does this new pathway that Dan's working on?
Correct.
Is that kind of sanctioned by the master plan, or is this kind of integrated with the master plan thoughts, and that he, because he was kind of interested in pushing it ahead with that a little bit at some point in time?
We have a grant that has to have something presented within 6 months, and that 6 months is coming up quickly. And yes, it was pre-discussion of a master plan or parallel. So,
right.
But it did pass at the town meeting, Bill. So that's
correct.
Unfortunate. I'm as guilty as the next person to plop down pickleball courts without a master plan in place. So.
That's where it started.
I'm
Well, it's too late now. They're in. That's it.
Hey, I was all for that pickleball court.
Yeah, we're not moving them. We're
Yeah.
not moving
You
them
got-
for a master plan.
You guys would
No,
leave
we're
that little snack room or that little break room, and Mark and I were like, look at each other and ask where all these people came from. Our biggest meetings we ever had.
Right, exactly.
So
So,
I don't know, Mark. My 2 cents worth in that it seems like these two elements can be kind of worked on a little bit to kind of materialize the scope of work and everything else without seriously impacting a kind of a master plan process. And at some point, they may just kind of like meld together a little bit where could be some preliminary master plan work done that says that, refurbishing the play lot in that particular area is the best scenario. So which can be moved forward, and that how it might relate to this new pathway and bridle path that's coming from Main Street. I don't know, but they're not that big of an element that they would really seriously impact overall master plan. Is my thought.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Bill, because where it is, it's already something there.
Right.
And we're
Yes.
just trying to update it, but I'm not sure, how do we make that an accessible play area? You can't even.
Well, we got to look at that,
here.
Mark.
right,
I mean, it has to be accessible, right? I mean, that's
correct.
Oh yeah.
not just the equipment, but getting there.
Well, yeah, accessible from point A to point B.
Sorry.
So
Susan.
you're saying everything has, like this new playground set that we're replacing has to be all accessible? That's
That's the guideline for the federal government. Yep.
Yeah, if you're any new public facility like this, Sunai, you're into the public realm and you're into obligations because of the money you spend and everything else to make it accessible and what they call universally accessible.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that was one of the things that's, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
So it's a quandary. It's a conundrum.
Yes.
that's a conundrum.
Well,
It is.
Well, I don't know if it's a conundrum so much as it's just a fact of life now.
Yeah.
You have to kind
It
of
is.
like
I mean,
deal with this this element as being that can all people and disabilities.
yeah, I mean,
can
I don't
use
mean
it
the
as well.
conundrum isn't that it has to be universally designed. It's
Right.
a location and how do you make it that?
Yeah.
So is that path going by the playground set?
yes,
Well, yes, it
So
is.
that's the idea.
So if
That's an
we do-
idea, but it's not, I don't think. It's going along the trees between the courts and the,
Well, yes, but
yeah,
it's
but
in
then
a
it has
loop.
to circle around.
Right,
I thought it was just going straight to Route 10.
Well, this is the second phase of that's going from the culvert crossing where the pond is out to Clark Street.
Clark Street,
Oh, okay.
Right,
I mean,
Mark?
I think
And
it would
it's going
be
right
great.
by the playground.
right.
Mhm.
And just as a little bit of a segue, I kind of took a look at and I gave Dan some of my preliminary thoughts. And one of them was that if, this for the phase one pathway may be required to get some kind of a conservation commission review, Mark.
Correct.
And if we have to do it once, if we have to do it for that, we may as well just try to do it once, but for both phase one and phase two,
Yeah, depending on
rather
the
than going
cost.
back, going piecemeal on it. I don't know. I was just, that was the thought I threw out.
No, I agree. Yeah, they're kind of two different segments to it.
I think I did CC you on my thoughts.
Okay, you might have.
Yeah.
So right now, we're just looking to see what pieces or what we could disassemble at this point
Correct,
with Randall.
and making sure that
It's
It's-
whatever's left is safe.
correct.
It's safe. Yeah. So nobody gets hurt on it. Yeah. In the meantime.
Yes. So I'll
Okay.
get a hold of Randall and do it, Bill. If you're around, maybe I'll see if you want to take a walk.
Well, let me know.
Okay.
I'd be glad to take a look at it with you.
Okay.
I have a
Good.
question on the Parks grant, because I thought when they presented it at town meeting, it basically was going from the parking lot behind the library to Route 10, straight behind, parallel to all the courts, the basketball court, the tennis court, the pickleball courts. And maybe
Yes, that is the route that was on the little bit of the master plan. Unfortunately, I kind of threw out another little thought is it rather than going to the parking lot, which doesn't seem to bring you anywhere except to the parking lot. It seems to me, from Main Street, it should be bringing you into the park, and maybe going along the edge of the pond over to the crossing, and then hooking up with phase 2, the phase 2 pathway out to Clark Street. Is that something that could be thought of too? I don't know. I was a little bit of my thinking was, well, okay, it's going to the parking lot. I'm not so sure that's. I don't know what that does for the park user, but it was another one of my gut thoughts on it anyhow.
Right.
But that was phase 1, was going from Main Street to the parking lot.
right.
Correct. I'm just looking at some sketches that we had talked about early on when we were applying for the grant. And we had phase 1 walkway going from College Highway along that tree line to the parking lot behind the library and the pavilion. And then we had phase 2 going from the pavilion basically to Clark Street, which would go by the playground
Right.
equipment and kind of facilitate both, because we could have handicap parking on Clark Street for people to come into the playground, to the closest point of the playground to have parking there, as well as, we do have the ability of having some handicap parking at the pavilion. It's not marked as handicap parking, but it could be striped.
Yeah, there's no designated handicap space in that parking lot over there by the pavilion.
No.
Shouldn't it be? Because you have signs on the building that the restrooms are handicap accessible, right?
Yes.
I think if there's a big event like Celebrate Southampton, they temporarily put something up that says reserved for handicap parking.
Yeah.
So, but I guess I don't think of it coming from Main Street to the parking lot. I think of it as going from the parking lot to Main Street. So that's my thought. But I love the idea of expanding it to a phase 2 and getting over to the, but so it would go all the way to Clark Street. Would that be going over the soccer fields there?
Well, around the edge.
No.
Yeah, near the
around the edge. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Near the swing set.
Mark, yes. So there is a question I have of, how, of grades and everything else. So that's another thing we'll have to talk about when we're together. But the kibitz about how that would work and everything else.
Correct. If phase 2 pathway doesn't work, and we can get some money to improve the playground equipment, I think we can provide handicap accessible route from the parking lot on Clark Street to the playground equipment.
Yeah.
And, the grades and the crossing of the dam, that earthen dam there, may be problematic to have a designated pathway going across it. But that's something we need to look at. So,
you might have to put up a railing on either side of that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But anyhow, that's something we need. Something for discussion.
My thought is that, a pathway could be made if we were just upgrading the playground equipment from Clark Street to the playground equipment that's existing now along the edge of the tree line, and, by the swing set, and get it over to that equipment.
Is the proximity of that playground within any buffers, Mark, or anything else? Would that have to go before just the commission too for I I don't know. Just,
we need to look at that, Bill.
yeah,
I mean,
it's, we're going to address one thing and then all of a sudden saying, oh, we should have done that, and everything else. So,
yep.
I don't know. I'm getting, where I'm going with this is that, we should do it all at once rather than piecemeal, but maybe that's a problematic in itself.
Correct.
A wise man told me it's cheaper to do it all at once.
Right.
Let me speak to that person, will you?
Your town. Can't do it if you're a town.
Right.
That's if everything lines up in our favor.
Right. Okay. Anything else that somebody would?
Just a question. The property that was on East Street, I forget if it was 14 or 16, where they it was the Wrights house and the land, the building lot. Mm-hmm. I believe they went in front of the planning board and separated the property behind. So now you have two lots. Has anyone been in touch with us as far our interest in that?
From what I understand from the Wrights, there has been discussions with the town. I don't know exactly who, whether it's Ed or someone else, about the town acquiring that piece of property.
Right, because when they presented, they did kind of talk, I forgot the word they used, but, and it was kind of questionable what that meant, like whether it was going to be given for sale to the town or whatever. So
I don't know about those conversations relative as a gift to the town.
It wasn't clear. Yeah, it wasn't clear in the meeting, in the planning board meeting. It wasn't clear.
Because I haven't been involved with any of that.
But that made it sound like it would be more of an interest to expand the park than open space or Concom or anything else. So that's why I was curious if you'd had any conversations with anybody.
Right. Don't know. Yeah, right.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? So next meeting. So I think we need to be. I'm just wondering, because of Dan's crazy schedule, Wednesday seemed, and he's on so many committees. We used to do some Thursday night meetings.
Or even Tuesdays, I thought, but any day is fine.
Right. Tuesdays are sometimes tough select board meetings and others, right?
Okay, then Thursdays are good.
So maybe we should look at, the 10th or the 17th, we could have some St. Patrick's Day celebrations by Zoom.
I'll be here. I'm gone on the 17th.
Okay, so does the 10th?
The
work?
10th works for me.
Okay. Does that work for you, Sonia?
For me.
Okay.
Janet's the one that's blocked.
You're muted. I think you said yes.
I said yes. Janet's the one. Yeah.
Yes, sorry about that. Yes,
Okay.
my phone was ringing in the background before.
Is that a Tuesday?
That's a
It's
Thursday.
a Thursday.
Oh, a Thursday.
At 6?
Yes. And I think we should, for the time being, continue doing Zoom. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoom.
Great. And I haven't heard back from Dan, but I'll try to make sure he's okay with the 10th.
I don't see at the moment I don't see any meeting scheduled, but that's a month away, so it could be.
Yeah. How's your new puppy?
He's good. He's smart.
He's smart.
Yeah, he is smart.
That's good.
He's training you okay?
Yeah, he slips on the ice a lot. It is where I live, it's just layers of ice and then it melts and then it freezes. And it's just, even he's slipping.
Yeah.
So, but he's good. He's sleeping now. Thank
Good.
you.
Yeah.
took our dog out for the first walk in days today because it's just been so dangerous for the dog.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Right. All right. So,
Let me in next time.
yes,
I'll be on
sorry.
time.
Next time I'll read the instructions from.
I don't know how you two got in though without him letting you guys in.
I think Mark let me in.
Yeah, I had to let everyone in.
Oh, okay.
So don't feel that, we
Yeah.
treated you differently.
This is
Oh,
my
for me.
my second Zoom meeting, and I have one tomorrow night. And the first time I logged in, I logged in as a participant and not the facilitator. And I'm sitting here going, wow, no one's joining. What's going on? And then I realized,
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting waiting to be let in by the host saying, where the heck?
yeah,
I know.
I'm hosting the meeting.
So,
That's funny.
Sonia, I hope you consider running again.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
You have a perspective that's great. So,
Okay. Well, I
Good
appreciate
experience.
that. All right. Good night. Well,
Good
you know
night,
what,
everyone.
Mark leaves these meetings right at less than an hour, so I do appreciate that.
he's good.
Yes. Oh,
He's
yeah.
always good at that. He's.
But
50,
Dan wasn't on today. Okay. So,
55 minutes.
I know. All right. Thank you.
all right.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.